Shalom, shalom, holy friends. It is great to have you with us. We're so excited to explore some Torah, some Torah of the mind and the body and the soul and beyond with a very special educator today. Rabbi Aryeh Ronay is a Teshuvah counselor who helps people and the planet return to sacred alignment. He holds smicha from Beit Midrash Har El just recently, Mazel Tov, a master's in Jewish education from Yeshiva University, and RYT 200, meaning registered yoga teacher with 200 hours, and IFS level 1 training, meaning internal family systems. And he's someone we're eager to explore his life and his work together. But before we do that, he's offered to lead us in a short guided meditation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here. Just to arrive in this space, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze and just take the next minute just to notice what's coming up inside. Bringing awareness to the breath and to the body, to the mind, the body, and the Torah. Just noticing the quality of your breath, if your breaths are short or shallow, short or long. Maybe inviting the breath to get a little bit slower and deeper. Our body is an amazing tool through which we can experience the universe and bring the soul into action. So just notice, what is your body telling you at this moment? What are the sacred messages that God is sending you through your thoughts and feelings? As we take a few more deep breaths, prepare for this interview. I invite you to just notice with curiosity whatever's arising, whether you like it or not. And as you take last few deep breaths, just noticing what came up during this little minute as trailheads to explore in a future time. I invite you to take one last deep breath in and out. And thank you for practicing with me.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. So, Rabbi Aryeh, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you kind of came to this place in your spiritual journey.
Absolutely. So if you told me when I was a child that I would be a rabbi, I would have been very confused. I did not like Judaism growing up. I thought it was a scam. I don't know what the point of it was, but I knew my parents thought it was important. But I was like, I didn't get it. I grew up Reform, and I think Baruch Hashem I grew up Reform because I think I was going to reject it either way. But if I grew up Orthodox, then I think I would have had too much trauma to even ever come back to it. So it was good that it was kind of pared down version I received. Um, and it was a whole process for me of coming into halacha and settling into halacha and engaging with it, because I think I'm a contrarian by nature, which Baruch Hashem is part of being a good Jew, is having a stiff neck. And yeah, I started to explore more in college. My mother actually became religious when I was 13, and everyone thought she was crazy, and I was with them. But when I was in college, I started to explore on my own and really starting to ask deep questions and thinking about God as a real presence directing my life. And as I deepened my practice, I also lost that. I became religious and stopped being religious. And it was really a lot of ups and downs until I ended up at Pardes, which was the Pardes Institute of Jerusalem, which is really one of the most important experiences in my religious journey, because there I was really able to explore. I came in not wearing a kippah, and then by learning in a totally open environment, I felt that I could choose the mitzvot. We have this image in our tradition of the mountain being held over our heads. So I didn't grow up with a mountain held over my head, which I said, was the good thing. So I didn't have the religious trauma. But on the other hand, I also didn't get the framework. I didn't get I never, it was never a choice for me. And then when I was able to choose it later in life, and especially experiencing it Pardes, I was really able to move into it with amazing teachers who really could guide me and hold space and allow me to take my own unique journey. And from there, Baruch Hashem, I was able to learn there for 2 years. I learned also at YU after that, and then a year in YCT doing the Mechina program. And unfortunately or fortunately, I was not able to continue because my wife really wanted to make Aliyah. So we moved to Israel, and I've been learning in Beit Midrash Harel for the past 3 years. It's a program which is the classes are in Hebrew, a lot of English speakers, but it was really diving in and breaking my teeth. And thank God I really have been able to grow so much. And I hope that I can be of service to other Jewish seekers who also are interested, who care about their mind and their body and their soul, and want to explore without feeling forced into anything, and really discover their own derech, their own path in Judaism. And I feel very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to do a lot of exploring, and I hope that I can also hold space with others who are figuring out their journey.
Very nice, very nice, very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. Can you share a little bit about kind of your current work now and what you're doing and why you're doing it?
Sure. So along my journey after college, when I kind of became religious and I lost Judaism, and I felt like I just had a long-term relationship, with God that now I lost. That's when I got interested in meditation and yoga, and along the way I ended up doing a Adama, which is a Jewish farming fellowship in Connecticut, and that was where I was first exposed to. I did yoga, which was like the body stuff, but this is Adama was really bringing the body and the soul together, because we're farming. It's talking about Judaism. We're singing Jewish songs. Avodat Lev, the work of the heart, is really a powerful connection. And so for the next 4 summers, I worked at different Jewish summer camps. And there's just some amazing opportunities in the Jewish world to even with very little experience to work in a farm, at a Jewish summer camp, which is basically the goal is not to, they like when you grow crops and and that's the ideal, but the most important thing is for the kids to have a positive experience. So I cannot say that I'm the best farmer or gardener, but I have the passion. And if you get lucky, then it really takes care of itself. I found, if you have a lot of sun and you can get a lot of, and you're watering it regularly, then a lot of the magic of nature is it kind of just takes care of itself. So some of those times it worked out better than others in terms of what I was growing. I actually had I had a goat when I was working at capital camps in Pennsylvania, and one of the goats died. And while I was the farmer, the farm manager, and that was very sad. The kids were very upset. His name was Marbles, the goat. So it was sad, but then the woman came to pick him up. She said basically he ate a lot of grass, and it was hot out. The problem was he ate too much, and he got bloated. And it's not your fault. So that made me feel better. But basically, they're supposed to eat a certain type of plant that allows them to release gas. They have apparently goats have difficulty farting. So I learned a lot that summer. She said if you have livestock, you also have dead stock. So working with animals and plants. I know people are afraid. They say, I don't have a green thumb. But things die. You do the best you can, and then you try again. Now I like to grow aloe. I have a lot of aloe vera plants in our apartment because it grows very easily. So I encourage anyone, and this is you told me a question that you would ask me in the future about, what practically to do. Growing plants is amazing, and grow plants that are easy to grow so that you can feel confident in yourself and feel connected to nature and have nature in your home. I actually have my aloe vera right here, which it's growing very nicely. And it's like I don't do so much. And I think it's important to feel connected to nature. I do the best I can. But I guess I want to encourage anyone who feels like they don't have a green thumb, just try, do the best you can, get a cactus or something. But I think that's part of this environmental reality that we're in now, which is part of the work I'm doing, which is to gain the environmental consciousness and relationship with nature. And doing what is really realistic for you is so important. Whether it's going for a walk in nature, it's already a huge step that a lot of people don't do or don't have the opportunity to do. Having plants in your home, going to the farmer's market, meeting the people who are actually growing the food. We can all, it's the same thing as I guess it's my perspective also on halakha, relate to it in a way that's sustainable for you, in a way that's going to be healthy for you. Recognizing that no one knows what's right for you. People can tell you this is what you're supposed to do, and they might even have really important ideas that are can be really helpful. But I do have a non-coercive style, and I encourage people to. I think I learned that from Pardes. It's part of their thing, non-coercion. I think it's really important to learn, to always be learning, and figure out how do I integrate this into my life in a sustainable way. Because if you push yourself and push yourself, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to last. And maybe you'll feel good in the moment, but afterwards, it's what's the point? So that's part of my work. I have a weekly interfaith environmental discussion group called Creation Care. Baruch Hashem, I've been running it for the past 2 years, I think, which sounds amazing. I actually started while I was at the Interfaith Center for Sustainable Development, working with Rabbi Aryeh Ronay, and then continued with it after I branched out. And currently running my own business, MindBodyTorah. And I'm very grateful to the Interfaith Center for Sustainable Development for this project really getting off the ground. And when I transitioned from that organization, I was like, should I continue? I don't know. Like, no one's paying me to do this now. But the people who come, they said you have to continue. We love it, and I loved it too. And it's just 30 minutes a week. So I invite anyone who wants to join. We have people who are Catholic, Baha'i, Jewish, people from all different backgrounds. And we talk about a lot of from the Eco Bible, which is Rabbi Yonatan book. And also bring in, we're going to be talking in about 2 months, discussing Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks' book, Not in God's Name, as we, noticing a lot of religious violence in this time. And just thinking, how do we come together from different faith backgrounds, but with a common need to take care of our planet? So that's some of the work I'm doing. Also teach yoga, so they call it Teshuva yoga, helping people to return to their mind, body, and soul, come back into that realignment. And same thing with my counseling work, which is through the IFS modality, which you mentioned, which is a way to notice our parts, which is like, the different, say different psychological, it's like the movie Inside Out, like different little people inside you, part of you wants this and part of you wants that. And it's totally normal. And at the same time, these parts can get kind of extreme, and noticing those extreme parts and helping them to relax, being the parent that they need for the little children in our head, which might sound a little crazy, but we're all a little have a little bit multiple personality, which is why you end up in a situation where you're torn. I want to do this, I want to do that. And there's a lot of confusion in our world. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress. And a lot of that has to do with different parts of us that are very extreme and need space. And a lot of spiritual practices, we suppress, what the voices that we hear that we don't like, eat that, do this, do that. We suppress. And IFS, the practice is to listen, to give space, while also not letting the part take over. So this is the inner work, and I believe it's the outer work we need to do as well. This environmental work to help people to relax, to help to get out of this insane go lifestyle that we have. And we have spiritual practice in our tradition as well, like Shabbat, to take a day off, take a day of rest. We don't have to be on our phones 24/7. So this is the work is there's extremeness. How do we make things a little bit less extreme? And nature, Shabbat, these rituals, these spaces that God created in our world are really, that's what I think what they're really for, is to help us to come back to ourself, to our soul, and reconnect.
Very nice. Very, very inspiring. I very much also believe in the changing the world from the inside out perspective. And you're speaking my language, and I'm speaking yours. Um, Time for just one last question. So some say, look, this is the number one issue. The level of urgency on climate change and global warming, it's just a catastrophe. And all we have time to do is systems level change, advocacy, and on the corporate level, on the legislative level, and the like. And it gives birth to just enormous anger and stress and anxiety on so many levels for people who feel they get it and that almost everyone around them doesn't get it in a serious way. How do you see the role and value of the kind of personal, spiritual, behavioral change dimension within that larger context of urgency?
Mm-hmm. It's a really great question, because it does feel very overwhelming, and everyone would feel like I'm just one person. What can I do? It's so much, it's so beyond me. And at the same time, I think that's where religion really has a lot to offer, to remind us, wait, whatever is happening out there is actually a reflection of what's happening in here. What can I do? How can I change things in here? And because when you change things in here inside, that's when things out there start to shift, and vice versa. So the Rambam teaches that we should view the whole world as balanced, equal with sins and equal with good deeds. And what are we called to do? We're called to do a good deed, to tip the balance in favor, that the good deeds should win out over the bad deeds. And I was bad deeds, not sins. Like, I mean, those are heavy terms, but let's say, doing something that makes the world a little bit better, doing something that makes people feel a little bit more comfortable, a little safer, a little more loved, bringing a little bit more love into the world, let's say. So when you have that perspective, and I don't know if this is true, I'm just putting this out there as an idea. But think about everything that's happening, all the war, all the violence, all the climate change, all the environmental catastrophe. What if it's all there for us to go inside, for us to notice what's happening and think and reflect what parts of me are getting triggered right now? What can I do differently in my life? It's true, there's some things that I can do differently in my immediate surroundings, but a lot of it, and I think that's why it's so overwhelming, feels so distant. So if I can't change it out there, what can I shift inside of me? And maybe God actually doesn't need us to save the whole world. Maybe there's some tikkun, some kind of fixing that I can do inside of myself that this moment is calling me to do. And that can actually have a butterfly effect beyond us. I think that is a faith perspective on climate change. It doesn't mean ignoring what's happening. It doesn't mean saying I'm just going to go into the cave and do my spiritual work, and whatever's happening out there doesn't matter. No, it's taking it very seriously. At the same time, recognizing what does God want from me? What can I offer? And I want to add one caveat that it says in the Masechet Avodah Zarah in the Talmud that God is not a tyrant. So when we recognize that everything we do, we can tip the world in the balance of good, it doesn't mean we have to drive ourselves crazy trying to do everything and trying to save the whole world. It's what does God want from me to help the world in a sustainable way for me and sustainable for the world? And I think that just a simple thing that anyone can do is just taking 1 minute a day to meditate, just noticing what is happening inside you for 1 minute. And that can totally shift. I have a 10-minute a day meditation practice. It's not a lot, but it's also not a little. It's enough time to notice before I start my day, before I run to shul to pray, um, what's happening inside of me. And it's a big privilege because some people don't even have that that minute. But if you can carve out 1 minute in your day just to go inside and notice, even if it's uncomfortable, noticing the discomfort and noticing the problem is always the beginning of the solution. And God willing, Be'ezrat Hashem, whatever is coming up in that 1 minute or whatever's coming up in your day, God willing, there will be solutions emerging and there will be healing. And as much as there is suffering, we're promised that God will comfort us, will help us to return to the state of peace that God wants us to be in.
Beautiful. Amen. Friends, you're probably thinking, how can I connect with Rabbi Aryeh even more? And the way to do that is to go to mindbodytorah.com and you can connect with him there. Thank you so much for your time and for the work you do in the world. Shana Tova.
Thank you. Shana Tova.